We've been running. Running when there was no attention, no support, no research, no product. We've been running past the skeptics. Should she be doing that? Are you sure? Are you kidding me? Endurance is our superpower, and we built it on the upward slopes of your question marks. The ones we've been asked since coming into this world. The ones we've had to answer for ourselves every day since. We're not running to prove anyone wrong. We did that a long time ago. We're running because we were made for this.
Well, hi, everybody. And you saw that right. There were 10 women who ran for 6 days as part of the Further Ultra Marathon, which Lululemon put on just a couple of months ago. We are so lucky, yes, to be joined by one of them, Kayla Jeter, true superheroes. Thank you. It's incredible. Just incredible. And hello, I'm Wintroub. I head the Center for Social Impact at Lululemon, which we launched in 2021 to advance equity and well-being all across the globe, really rooted in our belief at Lululemon that everyone, everywhere, has the right to be well. And we do that with incredible partners like the Girls' Opportunity Alliance, a program of the Obama Foundation. And I am so thrilled and honored that Tiffany Drake, their Executive Director and Vice President, has joined us today. Thank you, Tiffany.
Thanks for having me.
Yay. So Tiffany and Kayla, no one can introduce your wonderful selves better than you. So please do so. And if you could just share with this audience the why you do the work that you do.
I'll go. Sure. Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kayla Jeter. As you saw, as one of the Further athletes, and you saw me walk on stage, so it was a successful 6 days. I'm a Chicago-based athlete. I say that because I'm not from Chicago, but the 7 years I've lived here, I've definitely been of Chicago. It's become home. I'm a wellness consultant. I do fitness advising, behavior change, science, lifestyle work, and I'm also a Lululemon ambassador. And I've been an active person. No surprise, I suppose, by saying yes to something like Further. I played volleyball at the University of Tennessee. I played overseas professionally, and I coached. So movement is super important to me, and not only that, but diversifying what the wellness space looks like. I think especially when you look at the narratives around health, wellness, fitness, it's homogenous, and especially when you're looking at a sport like running. So my work through the organization I created, the challenge 100 Miles a Summer, it really is a community initiative, May 1st, August 31st, to walk, run, jog, or 100 miles. And someone who never identified as a runner, and the story that I now have added as ultra marathoner, it's really important to me not only to get people moving, but to show people that there is space for them to move and what movement looks like, to empower Black women as leaders within the running space, a space where, again, it's super homogenous, especially male and other organizations who make it look a certain way. There is a space for everybody, and people just to find power and confidence in the way that they move.
Hi, everyone. It's great to be here with you, and thank you for inviting me, Anne. As she said, I'm Tiffany Drake. I'm the Executive Director of the Girls' Opportunity Alliance at the Obama Foundation. And I come from years and years and years of working in corporate America, and marketing, brand, all kinds of things. But I think my goal and my passion was always, how can I transition that work into something more meaningful? I know that's why we're all here. We've all been bit by that bug of, is it crazy to think I could actually do something good with my job? So that led me into working for the White House back when Michelle Obama launched her final program at the White House, which was called Let Girls Learn. She understood the travesty that girls around the world face. There's more than 100 million girls around the world that are not in school, and there's girls right here in the city of Chicago that don't have opportunities, are not able to go to school for various reasons, and she wanted to figure out a way to try to do something about that. So I went to work for her then and built this program called Let Girls Learn, and then she decided this is a passion that she wanted to continue for the rest of her life. So I stayed along to build the Girls' Opportunity Alliance, and for me, it really hits home. I have a daughter. I can't imagine a world by which she didn't have every opportunity and could pursue any dream that she wanted. And it's unthinkable that girls around the world cannot. And so our work is really to try to amend that slowly, bit by bit, and to try to break down those barriers that girls face.
Thank you. And that's exactly what we're here to talk about today, is breaking down barriers and going further for women and girls all across the globe. So I think we'd love to hear from both of you, and two people so suited to talk about going further in different but very complementary ways, right? So I'd love to hear what the barriers are that you're seeing globally and that you're seeing here in Chicago to girls and women's well-being.
When you think here in Chicago, and I think everyone in this room, just by a show of hands to the women who played sports growing up, or it's part of sports. Okay, who was still playing sports when they turned 15? Yeah, right? So a drop off, right? And the research shows that 45% of young girls stop playing sports by the time they turn 14, which is twice the rate as boys. And a lot of that is body confidence, having role models, people they look up to, having leaders, feeling they can be in spaces where they can be confidently and fully themselves, and having opportunity to learn, to grow. And as you go up that ladder, then let's say you continued your career and you got into athletics at collegiate level or even pro level. When we look at the body of research around exercise physiology, that research fully focuses on women, 6%. So that informs training, training initiatives, rehab, nutrition, all the things that help support an athlete be successful. Women are not being researched, not being focused on. So there's this huge opportunity to invest in women's research, which is happening, through the Women's Initiative that was announced back in December. And there's a big buzz around it, but what I was taking from the conversation this morning is what is the urgency of that? So when we look at opportunities like the Girls Opportunity Alliance here in Chicago, how are we empowering our girls? How are we, teaching them to be leaders, getting them involved in sport, supporting them through it, and through initiatives like Further, which I had the opportunity to be a part of. It's how are we showing young girls, athletes, that they can not only take up space, they have support in that space. And to be a woman of color, a woman who doesn't come from a running background, and being fully supported to run my 234.32 miles over those 6 days was an incredible experience, and really exciting for what it looks like for women and girls to be supported.
Yeah, no, that's amazing, Kayla. Thank you so much for sharing. And I did just want to mention what Kayla just shared about research. That is one of the key reasons that Lululemon started Further, was to fill up that massive void of research. So we'll be releasing findings through 2026, specifically on what Kayla and her unbelievable 9 comrades in running achieved, and how that really informs our understanding of women's physiology and women in sport. And Tiffany, can you please share with us globally?
Well, I just want to say I was there, and these women are amazing. So, 230 around 92 laps around a track, which is, we were talking about it earlier, and I still can't even believe they did it. So for us, the Girls Opportunity Alliance, our whole goal is to help further the well-being of girls. And this is girls all around the world. So the challenges are different depending on where in the world you are. We work everywhere from Latin America through the Middle East, all of Africa, Southeast Asia, because unfortunately, this issue is global. It happens right here in Chicago. So we work on anything, we work with organizations that are around the world who focus on anything from getting culture barriers, so getting the community leaders to understand the importance that girls are just as important as boys, and not just to give the money to boys to go to school, but that girls should also have the opportunity. Through sometimes it's building dormitories because the nearest school is 6 hours away and they have no way of getting there. There's violence prevention programs that we work with right here in Chicago, leadership development, and what you see time and time again is that if you invest in a girl, the whole world benefits, not just that girl, but we heard a minute ago about Nicaragua, right? The girl comes back to her community and then invests in that community, which creates a ripple effect for girls to follow. So we really believe that partnering with these local organizations on the ground who best know the barriers girls face to their well-being is the way of the future to supporting girls.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have been at Lululemon so proud to support the Girls Opportunity Alliance since 2021. We've invested $5 million in their truly transformative work all across the globe. So Tiffany, if you could just share more, the model of the Girls Opportunity Alliance is a very unique one. And we heard earlier about just the importance of community-informed work. And I think the Girls Opportunity Alliance is a really tremendous model of that at a global scale. So if you could just share more about that and how that model really helps to address these barriers, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, we did a lot of research heading back to when we had a program previously called Let Girls Learn, as I mentioned, in the White House. And what we really learned through so much research and focus groups around the world is that the issue is not the same, and we need to invest in these communities individually, because what might work in Guatemala may not work in Cambodia. So with that, our program set up a fund, and we have organizations all across the world apply for this fund, and they have to go through a very rigorous vetting process, and we have to make sure they're doing the actual work that they say they are, but they know best what's going to impact girls. So then we work with lots of partners, media partners, corporations, and many others, because we know we cannot do this work alone. So then we collectively go and we support and fund these organizations that then can turn around and provide that money into the community. And with that, we also don't want to just give over money and say, good luck, we hope this works for you. We have a huge network of 4,000 leaders that we provide regular trainings to, convenings, the ability to learn from one another and grow their work. And so you'll see these organizations meet one another from across the world, from Afghanistan, working with someone that's over in Peru, and trying to learn, how did you do this thing for girls? How did you overcome this certain challenge that girls are facing, whether it's pregnancy where they're not able to go to school, or how do you get communication to people that don't have electricity, and how do you get homework to them, and all of these things. So we really believe, as I said, that this is the way forward, is to work with these local grassroots organizations. And we're now, as of this year, our last year, but just started funding them this year, doing that as well right here in the city of Chicago.
Oh, that's so exciting. And I think with so many folks who have the privilege of leading corporate funding works, it would be helpful just to understand more about how you work with corporate partners, what our partnership perhaps has unlocked, and how it's enabled your work to go even further.
Well, we launched a campaign 2 years ago called Get Her There. And the reason for that is because we know we can't do this alone. We're a nonprofit, and we might have the Obamas backing us. But unfortunately, that doesn't do everything we need them to do. They can't solve all the world's problems as two people. So in order to work and make the difference, we need to work together. So Lululemon has been an amazing partner. We really use our partnership with Lululemon as the model for all things we do with partners going forward. But it's the idea of, first of all, generating awareness. So we can't just do it alone, but we have this huge megaphone with the Lululemon platform, with storytelling, with being a part of events like Further, and Kayla and I were at an event a year ago in Vancouver talking about this as well. So it's this partnership to get the word out and to tell the stories of what we're doing together. And then it's also the funding. So the funding that Lululemon has provided has gone directly to all of these trainings that these leaders are doing. It's gone to impact more than 120,000 girls around the world. And that number is just continuing to grow. So we cannot do it without partnerships. I cannot stress that enough. If we want to, and we're the middle ground here, the liaison that can pull the organizations in, pull partners like Lululemon in, and then together collectively make that impact.
Yeah, no, it's just been a stunning way to partner with an organization that's so responsive to community needs happening at scale. Your work is tremendous. Thank you so much for leading it the way you do. And Kayla, it cannot be said enough that you ran 234.32 miles, which is the distance from here to Sisters Bay in Wisconsin. I don't know where that is, but I know it is very far away. So would you share with us what you learned about yourself and going further in that process?
Sure. So yeah, it's far. To say it out loud, I don't think I can even wrap my mind around, because I just ran my first marathon last year. I renounced the runner title to my core, but everyone's like, you're an ultra marathoner, you're kind of a runner now. So for me, it helped me address some of the limiting beliefs and narratives I've carried, right? I can't do this, I don't see people who look like me, it's not a space for me. But I really believe, especially when I got into running, is you can't be what you can't see, right? And when I think about, for women in particular, the sport of ultra, which is anything beyond marathon, so anything past 26.2 becomes an ultra marathon, from 30 miles beyond, and then go beyond. And so for me, it was okay, who am I in this space? How am I going to show up? But more importantly, what are things that I know to be true about me? We as women, we naturally endure. And choosing to endure and having to endure are two different things. So for further, I chose to go into this 6-day race. And by the way, it was on a 2.5-mile loop. So imagine the 2.5-mile loop around your neighborhood, like spin the block 92 times. You know what I mean? Like for a while, you're really faced with a lot of narratives that you tell yourself. And so what I learned about myself is that I've gone through harder things. You know, on day 5, I was going through a tough time. My team had to make a decision. My feet were super swollen, and they're like, Kayla, what do you want to do? How do you feel? Have you had any awakening moments out there that maybe you want to pull back or it will push you forward? And for me, choosing to run for 6 days is easier than having to bury both of my parents. You know, so.
Thank you.
Sorry, thanks. When we look at the impact of sport and the opportunity it provides young girls to become leaders, to learn who they are, to learn how to persevere, to get through challenging moments, those opportunities become very, very important because life is already hard, right? So how can create opportunities and empower young people and young girls to know that they have the tools, the resources, and they're supported to go further?
Well, thank you so much for sharing that, Kayla. And I know, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we talk about, and we are so committed to this work taking young girls and women further, but I also want to acknowledge how powerful this is for young boys. And I think I shared my 9-year-old was asked in his class to draw pictures of powerful women. And I went into his classroom and there were pictures of moms and Olivia Rodrigo, I mean, very powerful women. And then there were all these pictures of circles. And I said, Arlo, which is yours? And he pointed to one of the circles. And I said, what's that? And he said, those are the women, that's the further track. And what was so incredible was that it wasn't just his picture, but it was his little friend Emilio. It was his little friend Juan. It was all of these little boys drawing that track. Right? It's incredible to think about how this is inspiring so many people to take action, to move in their bodies in different ways, to transform their communities. And can I ask as well, I'd be curious to hear, Tiffany, if just this connection between movement and mental health, movement and well-being, how that's starting to come up for the Girls Opportunity Alliance and the work that you're seeing and contributing to all across the globe.
Yeah, that's huge. Even overseas, you wouldn't believe it, but a lot of the programs that we fund are after-school sports programs because sport and girls don't go hand in hand. There's a lot of communities that, they don't see girls, where the outfits they're wearing aren't conducive to playing sports. We fund an organization in Namibia called Physically Active Youth, and the whole idea is to prove to the community that girls can play sports. And then that way girls are not going home and they're not cooking and taking care of the family, they're showing their families, look, I can do the same thing boys can do, right? And we're doing that right here in Chicago as well. There's such a tiny percent of philanthropic dollars right here in the US that go toward women's and girls organizations, right? And so there's all these organizations that have popped up in Chicago because girls didn't have the opportunities that others do. Some of them have never picked up a ball, or they've not been on a stage to do a dance performance like you see across the country and just think that's normal in America. Well, it's not. And so we have organizations called Black Girls Jump, right? And Black Girls Dance, and there's all these organizations that support girls that take them from school, give them an activity so they're not going home and getting on their phones or participating in something that might not be beneficial to them and to their health. So this is something that's extremely important movement to overall well-being. A lot of what we do is mental well-being, but physical well-being is also very important.
Yeah, absolutely, thank you. And Kayla, not that running 243.32 miles isn't enough, but I think we'd all love to know what's coming up for you next. What does this next year hold for you in your work?
Sure, so right now we're in the month 2 of a challenge I started called 100 Miles a Summer. So May 1st, August 31st, walk, emphasis, you can walk, jog, run, or roll 100 miles. And it's really meant to get people moving, to connect people with their communities, get to know their neighborhoods, especially when it comes to a sport like running. It is a sport of privilege as far as access to time, money, safe environment, equipment. And if we can encourage people just to get out and get moving in a way that works for them, whether that's before work or after work with a friend or by yourself, take that time for you. So it's all virtual. People can go to 100milessummer.com. They can join the challenge. They upload their miles. It's just a great way for people to explore the sport of running, get their bodies moving, and then get outside, especially in the summertime.
I'm so excited to do that. Thank you. And Tiffany, what about with Girls Opportunity Alliance? You shared work in Chicago. I know there's so much ahead.
Yes. Yeah, we're continuing to grow. So while we launched our US program recently in Chicago, we are expanding across the whole country. So we've been doing focus groups in major cities across the US where you wouldn't be surprised, maybe from everything I've just said, that the issues that girls face in Chicago are very similar to issues faced with girls in Boston, New York City, LA, right? And so how can we take the work and the lessons that we've learned across the world and apply them to organizations that are also across the US? And to take that a step further, connecting these organizations with organizations around the world. Because I think sometimes girls, we found here in the US kind of get in their own bubble of like, life is really hard right here, but you need to connect with this girl over in Afghanistan who is no longer allowed to go to school, period, right? And like, what does that mean to her? So our real long-term goal is to try to make these connections so that we are really doing meaningful work and trying to open up everyone's minds about the issues girls face around the world, and then also help them have this large community to engage with one another.
Amazing. I wish we had more time. Thank you so much to both of you for sharing. Yes, thank you. You're doing just such incredible work, pushing yourselves further, taking girls and women further. It's extraordinary. And if anybody needs a break from all the further that we're doing and going today, I encourage you to check out the Lululemon Wellness Lounge on the 3rd floor. We've got meditations, we've got chair yoga. It's a lovely space. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Thank you.